All right, what is going on? Switzerland plans revamp of cold era nuclear bunker network. So we have so many of these stories coming out of pretty much every Western country and recently in every Eastern country. They're making mobile nuclear bunkers in Russia. Of course, multiple people I've spoke to about this, they always say the same thing like, oh, well, this is just to scare people and this is just to freak people out. In some cases, it is actual local governments and upper governments that do know things that are trying to put their best foot forward. They do try to prep for the most likely scenarios. Again, it is pretty wild what has been going on in the world. Out of Switzerland wants to update its network of aging nuclear shelters, which are increasingly seen as an asset at a time of greater global uncertainty, notably since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Thanks to a 1963 law, Switzerland, already ahead of neighbors like Germany, each of its 9 million residents, including foreigners and refugees, is guaranteed a spot in a bunker to protect them from bombs and nuclear radiation. It says, quote, in the coming years, the Swiss Confederation wants to remove some of the exceptions to the current rules and update some of the older shelters. That is absolutely crazy that essentially all of 9 million people will have a spot in Switzerland. And say you don't believe any of this and that, there'll never be nukes and this is all a bunch of BS. I still have to give it to Switzerland. I cannot believe that they have a spot for 9 million people. Why is the U.S. sloughing so far behind? I mean, really, we're not, because everyone's seen the videos of the huge limestone caves and the huge underground system that we do have. A lot of it is not, theory. There's a lot of underground tunnels. The theory is if it actually goes across the United States and that you can travel from one point to another. But we have plenty of these underground bases. And my wonder is, would they actually have a spot for us if the real thing ended up actually happening? Or would it be like, what was it, Greenland, where they do a lottery and only 1 million of us get a spot, right? Well, that's kind of how we've done things here for other things. In other countries, they basically take care of every single citizen. So big ups to Switzerland. If it all goes down, they're going to have their people covered, and even people that might be tourists. So you might want to go there instead of some other tour in the Middle East. Again, we'll talk about this and much, much more on tonight's show. So stick around. We'll be right back with everything that's happened in the last 24 hours, including Russia, China, and all sorts of other crazy, crazy events happening, including the Jersey drones, and now senators and congressmen and all sorts of people weighing in on it. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. So we have so much to go over in a short amount of time. Remember, you have a full bibliography Not too many channels our size actually do this for every show, so make sure to go check it out. It is a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document you're going to see here today. It is done for all of the daily shows, including the short and long ones. So make sure to go check that out. You have a full source list for everything we're going to show you, so you know exactly where we got the information. We're not exactly saying that all of these stories are the truth. In fact, we're, as a community, going to look at these stories, and you're going to get the general consensus of at least a couple thousand people of what people really think about these MSM articles. So let's get into it. Let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam. Hello, Foogle fam. I am doing just fine.
By the way, thank you, and thank you. Big ups to Neil Nelson. Thank you for the super thanks on It All Lines Up in December. And Waiting for the King, thank you for the super thanks on that show as well. And then, of course, Carlton Sutton, thank you for your support yesterday. Nathaniel Williams, I appreciate your support yesterday with the super chats. Stephen McMahon, Kenny Crowder this week. Carol, thank you, and thank you, and thank you. Thank you to some of the long-time Foogle fam like Kenny Crowder. I think my 5th or 8th subscriber ever, still hanging around 6-7 years later. So that is absolutely awesome. Thank you for being here. All right, let's get into it. So first of all, Switzerland is making these bunkers. Dex, I did want to get you on this too, because we've talked about all of this. We talked about this a year and a half ago, how, I guess we pointed out, me and you had a conversation. I pointed out and you pointed out that, like, if we start seeing these countries, revamp their nuclear shelters and it gets, 1 or 2 minutes of coverage, then that might be something to pay attention to. And now, all of a sudden, all of these countries are revamping their nuclear networks. I don't know. It seems kind of creepy to me.
It's very creepy. And it's not just today. It's been going on for the last, 6 months or more. They have been amping up this whole notion of going to nuclear war and having something serious happen in Europe with relationship to NATO, and obviously with Russia is who they're pointing the finger at. It's also who they're poking over and over and over again to try to instigate that conflict and to get him to do something back. Because I think, in my opinion, they want a conflict. They want a broader war, because I think they want to create that that wartime scenario, as well as they want to take Russia out. They want to basically, annihilate Putin. And I think that, they understand that the consequences of that will come with probably tacticals, maybe not, the entire world going global thermal nuclear war, but it'll probably be tacticals, and it'll probably be in a way that will require fallout. And they're going to have to go deal with that. And they're teaching the population, they're putting out pamphlets, they're telling people where the existing shelters are, they're building new shelters, and even Russia's doing it too. Adam, we talked just recently about how they were building these mobile nuclear shelters.
Yeah, let me see if I can pull up what those look like, because let's see here, Russian mobile nuke shelters. Check these things out. So in Switzerland, what is their makeup as far as what side, where are they at on the spectrum of things, and where have they historically been? Dex?
Oh, they're always neutral. It's Swiss.
Yeah, exactly. So we're talking about a country that is basically been in kind of the middle, where Finland and Sweden kind of used to rest. Or was it, I'm trying to think of the 3 countries that were always historically kind of neutral. 2 of them are now part of NATO. And then, of course, you have Switzerland that has always kind of stayed neutral. And probably
they hold everybody's money, right?
Like the Swiss bank account.
Good, bad, or ugly, they've got your money there, and no matter which side of the conflict you're on. So they've always sort of like sat right in the middle and said, we won't get involved, and you're not going to hurt us, because if you hurt us, you're going to destroy all the money that's either yours or your partners that are there. So they've sort of been the financial, placeholder wherever all the gold and money sits. But even them building bunkers doesn't mean that I think they're going to be attacked, but it certainly means, they're small, and it'll be easy for them to have consequences of a nuclear fallout in Europe.
See, that's what gets me is that Switzerland is this neutral country and that they are doing it. You know, it doesn't seem like it has a political slant because they're sitting outside of this kind of back and forth with the whole NATO and this. They're on their own making these things. This is one of the Russian mobile nuclear shelters, right? And everybody considered these a different way. People say, it's saber rattling and it's to scare people. But they are making tens of thousands reportedly of these. So what the heck is really going on? Is something bigger about to happen? Remember, the people at the very top are going to have a place to be. One really creepy thing to think about is all of the prep companies that do not only prep food, but EMP protection, the Atlas Survival, the company that makes all of these bunkers, his business has absolutely skyrocketed. He actually says on his own channels and on others, essentially that he is making bunkers. He traveled to, I think it was 11 countries in 12 months. Or 13 countries in 11 months, whatever it was. He went all over the place, and he's helping governments. He's building bunkers for some of the top 5 wealthiest people, which he says he can't say which ones, but you could probably guess. And I'm just thinking, like, you actually look at his channel. He has a YouTube channel. Years ago, he was a much smaller business. Now you look, it is insane. His company is blown up. I mean, it's absolutely giant, the stuff that they're doing now compared to what they were when even I started on YouTube and I watched him. He was, I think he was around the same size as us YouTube-wise, and he was, covering kind of prep topics and things. Now he's so busy, I don't even think he makes videos anymore. But you look at that, and then some of these companies, you talk to some of these companies, and they are out of stuff, and it's not because they're selling to customers, regular customers. It's because they're selling to governments. Governments are coming in the middle and swooping up all of this prep gear. So just keep that in mind. When it really comes down to it, they're all going to swoop up all the good stuff last minute. And if you have followed kind of this whole trend of insider trading, that also tells you that these officials and these people up high, they're also going to know about emergencies first. They're going to know about wars first. They're going to know about, anything bio first. So just keep that in mind when you look at stories like they're giving half the Congress, sat phones and things. It's like, maybe we should get prepared. The majority of people are not. Dex, go ahead.
Just a couple other thoughts on Switzerland. They actually had their first meeting, the Swiss federal counselor, back in 2023 with NATO. The defense minister had a meeting with them, but they also have tons of money from, say, China. Had 196 million in Switzerland, and obviously the Russian oligarchs all have their money in Switzerland, and they use that as a way of, protecting their money from the current situation with sanctions and stuff. So as much as, they are in the midst and neutral, they are also, it's obviously clear why, because they play all sides.
Yeah. And think about that as well. If they have, if they are at all a target for other reasons, because they're housing all of the money of the world, most of us go, oh, well, they also house all of the bad guys over here money too, so I bet nobody is targeting Switzerland. So why are they making these bunkers, right? Well, I guess we'll see. Maybe it's for the stuff that comes over them after everything is said and done. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And then, Dex, do you want to go over Russia batters Ukraine power grid? Amid rising concern, Putin could order ballistic missile attack this weekend. Why this weekend?
Yeah.
Specific.
Well, they're still waiting. They're waiting on this. They know there's this retaliation for the Russia said they would retaliate with because we launched again more ATACMS into Russia, about 8 of them, and struck a base. So Russia said they would retaliate, and the U.S. intelligence has said they've seen the movements of that hypersonic missile. That could be a nuclear missile. It can hold multiple warheads on it. They did launch it one time into Ukraine a few weeks back, maybe a month now, and it hit a few different locations. But it didn't have a lot of firepower on it at the time. It was more of a warning shot across the bow. But what's happening right this minute, though, is they're continuing for a third year in a row with their primary winter strategy of basically pummeling Ukraine's power grid. They know that as winter sets in, the freezing conditions set in, it gets really difficult. And if they can destroy the power grid, it makes life miserable in Ukraine. So we reported last week that they made some major attacks on the grid, and now they're starting in again this weekend. And today they've been laying down massive blows to the power grid there in Ukraine. So it's expected. It shouldn't come as a surprise. It's happened. This is, like I said, the third year in a row that they have gone after this grid. They will go after it every winter because it is a defensive or an offensive opportunity to put harm onto Ukraine and slow down the military capability there when the country is without power during its coldest period.
Yeah, and you could look at that for any country if there's any kind of war or anything, but any country, if you want to truly cripple the military on a big scale, if you go after the actual country, if you start knocking out power and affecting the citizens, then that rolls back some of the supplies that they're using for the battle on trying to restore everything for as far as the citizens and the people and to protect the cities. So, but who knows what's really going on there? From day one of the Ukraine conflict, we have not gotten, the straight truth out of that. Kimberly says that Switzerland has always had homes and that they've had it for a very long time. No, we said that as far as the fact that they've always had this thing set up where all 9 million, and back in the day, I'm sure it was less, they've always had a place for all of their people. And I think that is pretty wild. But considering it is where the real money is, not the money that's, in some public bank account, but something that, all of these nasty people, and I'm telling you, the worst people in the world, I guarantee you their money is in a Swiss bank account. I mean, it has a reputation like, oh, he probably has some accounts in the Caymans or in the Swiss bank accounts, Switzerland and the Cayman Islands and these places, they have their reputation because they are the places that these huge behemoths of rich people keep their money. It's just crazy. And it's no surprise that all of those people are protected. So I guess, I don't know, seems like that's the good place to take a tour this December. Or go vacation in Switzerland in December. And then a top Chinese economist just said what many people suspected: China's official GDP numbers may not be accurate, but not in the way you think. They're actually saying, this top economist is actually believing that when they're saying that they have 2% GDP, that it's more close to 5%. Dex, when you saw this, what did you think? Because I've personally been going against the grain on this for a number of years. And when I saw this, I thought, man, I guess I'm kind of biased. I've been saying this for a year. I think they have more money than they say.
Yeah. Well, they're always going to put out whatever they want. So if they don't have enough money, they're going to tell everybody they do. And if they have more money than they want the world to know, then they're going to tell everybody they have less. So I think that is going to be there's no reason to think that what they're telling us is the truth, because they have there's no reason for it. They don't have to be open. They don't have to be transparent. They can do whatever they want, and obviously they do. And they don't even have to uphold that to their citizens. They have their own doctrine. They can do what they want and say what they want, and even write their own history, so to speak. So no surprise here that people are able to dig in and figure out that the numbers aren't really the numbers, and they're cooking the books.
So one thing that I don't get is almost everybody I know buys stuff from China on a daily basis. There are so many more people that are buying stuff from Temu and Shein and all of these services and whatever Express. And Amazon is just giant. People buy stuff from Amazon like there's no tomorrow. I mean, Amazon trucks in my neighborhood, it's like 50 a day. I don't know if you've ever done a time lapse of any of your doorbell cams, but it's like 50 times a day they're passing by. They're dropping stuff off at all times in the day. More people are doing that. At the same time, you go to a freaking mall, I think really the only time you're going to see it packed is around Christmas and Black Friday. But other than that, the malls are dead. People aren't going out to shop. They're going and shopping online. And 95% of that stuff is from China. You think all that money is going there and it's going right into the pockets of the people that are making it? No, it's going straight to the CCP. Not to mention, they can, like Dex said, they can do anything they want. They can clamp down on people. People think, oh, because of CV that they failed so hard and all of this. Well, I was saying back then, all of these factories, there was reports and people saying, hey, the lights are on in there. People are still going in there. People are quietly entering and quietly exiting, and it sounds like these factories are still going. The electronics department, the area, this whole area that makes advanced electronics, during that time period, they said, wow, this is a huge deal. For the first time, China's shutting this all down. Those places had their lights on and that they were buzzing the whole time. And many locals said, did claims that they were actually running things in there while they were saying they weren't. Back when that was happening, I said, hey, maybe they have switched production. They've told the world, hey, we're stopping all of this. While they were not making all of this other stuff for Amazon, what if they switched, just like a wartime economy, switched their factories to making wartime weapons? Think about how we have been covering story after story after story about how China has been essentially just blazing through all of these benchmarks. They have been making nukes faster than anybody could have suspected. They have the largest Navy now. Out of nowhere, it was like overnight a few years ago, they're like, hey, they have the largest Navy. It was insane. They physically have it. That means they were making boats and boats and boats and boats and boats, and people weren't seeing this. My thought is, what if they say now these reports have come out and said that more likely where that thing from 2019 came from, what if that was on purpose? Shut down the world and you continue to drive. Everybody gets locked down for 3 years, and that was so nobody got affected by whatever this thing was, or it was all coordinated. Meanwhile, all of your factories, you're not shipping out to the rest of the world because there's all these restrictions. You're working on these weapons and you don't have to worry about anything else. You stockpile things. Is there evidence of them stockpiling? Hell yes, they are stockpiling and they are hoarding like no one has ever seen. And people think it's because of Taiwan. They're hoarding wheat, they're hoarding corn, they're hoarding, world amounts. They have 20% of the population, but yet they have 55% of the entire world's wheat. And they're hoarding it. They're keeping it for themselves. They stopped selling natural gas for months and months and months. They said, we're not going to export any natural gas for this period of time. I don't know if they're still not doing that. But to me, this says that they could have used that time to prep for a war, just as Russia right now had to do it in the moment and switch all these Q-tip factories to bullet factories. What if they did that the entire time during CV? And people think that they're broke. They are making so much money off of every single country. Not only the United States is just consuming. All of these big companies that you think of, even the high-end ones, they have factories over there. Heck, Tesla's second largest factory is over in China. I mean, come on. Like, they are making money hand over fist. And they're saying, oh, well, they're about to collapse and they're, I have never believed that. I think that they have way more money than people think. More billionaires are made there. I think that they just surpassed the U.S. or something in some of their major cities, where there's more billionaires being made there than here. That is a bad sign. Dex, go ahead.
Well, I will say this. The one thing that China needs is U.S. dollars, and the American economy is the one that buys the most of China's product, especially the ones with the highest margins and makes them the most money. We are the largest consumers. We have the biggest pocketbooks. And right now we're all spending all of our money on eggs and bacon and gas, and we're all hemorrhaging right now and not able to go out and buy tons of Chinese products. And I think, you can also look at, say, the first thing that came to my mind is like, well, where do you see a lot of Chinese products? I mean, of course, you can look at Walmart and other places, but Harbor Freight, of all places, their revenue decline has been down over 3% for the last 3 months. Just proof that, we are not buying as much here in America as we were, and that stuff that we've been buying is coming from China. So they're going to continue to inflate their numbers and make themselves look like they're something that they may not be, or they could be hiding it, as you're saying too, hiding what they do have because they don't want the world to know.
Okay, wait.
But our dollars are the ones that keep them afloat.
Dex, you know how many people are right now? You know why? But everybody is spending all this money on eggs and bacon, right? We can't afford groceries at this point. You drop something in your cart and it's $100. Everybody, it's my daughter is a checker. She says it is almost annoying at times because every single person goes, "Wow, how did I get to that? Oh my God!" And it's like it's a small talk thing. I've done it where you go, "Gosh, man, oh man, that got to 100 quick," or they go, "Oh gosh, you barely put anything in your basket." Just know that the checker has heard that 10,000 times that day, especially here in Washington. But as far as that goes, everybody is saying everybody does it. If they don't have money to buy the $100 electronic from over here or the $500 electronic from here, what are they buying? They're buying the $100 Walmart version of it, which is absolutely made in China. People aren't buying Sonys and Samsungs. They're buying Hisense and TCLs and all these crappy brands. As far as cheap electronics, obviously China's got that knocked down. But as far as the stuff that is on Amazon, you buy, say, people still are buying this stuff. Amazon is still delivering the crap out of this stuff. They're not buying the brand name thing. They're buying the knockoff. And I think because of the prices of everything, it's actually the opposite. That so many people, for the first time, that were afraid to try something from China are now doing it because it is what they can afford. Instead of $100, they're saying, well, it's got most of the features for $40. That's why I think that China is doing well right now. I don't think that they're doing bad. And especially after CV, when everything opened back up, if you guys noticed, there was a surge of just money that went out and people got going again, businesses got up, and then all of that, then people felt like they wanted to buy again. They bought from China. These companies like Temu's doing way too well. That stuff, and I'm super surprised that any of it even shows up. That thing a couple years ago, I thought Temu was just an absolute scam. I thought it was going to be shut down by now, but so many people shop there. They had video after video of Temu scams of they would order a huge basketball hoop or something, and it would come and it was 3 inches tall, and it's like, oh, that explains the price. But now you actually order, huge basketball hoop for $40 and it actually comes. So something's going on here. Just saying. I think that they're hiding it. But I know that a lot of people are on the opposite end. They think that they are inflating it. But one thing is for sure, if they are hiding it, that is something to be worried about because they can manufacture better than anyone else. They have manufacturing down to a T. They can mass produce almost anything and do it cheaply and efficiently. And people think that if they make it there, it's going to fall apart. Well, think about that when you're driving your Tesla, because they make a lot of stuff there for your Tesla. Think about that when you drive your Porsche even now. Think about that when you drive think about that when you have your high-end electronic. A lot of the stuff inside of it is from China. So even if they don't say it, they'll say, oh, it's from this company, but that company is having it manufactured or majority of it manufactured in China. All right, and then let's move to the next. We're going to be talking about T-Man invites Xi Jinping to attend his inaug in a signal to the planet, as some are calling it. We'll cover that in just a second. I do want to remind you guys, make sure to go check out Jace. If you have a regular medication that you've been taking for years and you're dependent on it, whether the debate of if you should be taking it or not that's all up to you. But if there is something that you have to take every day, I would highly check out Jace Daily. That is where you can get a 12-month extended supply of your prescription meds all at once through a board-certified doctor with a telehealth appointment from your couch. Most people are going to be going with the Jace case. It is a kit that comes with all of the most commonly prescribed antibiotics. So if something happens, you get some sort of illness that can be solved with an antibiotic, then you have it on hand just in case if we don't have power or we have a cyber attack take out our hospitals and our pharmacies. We've already seen it where at least 30,000 pharmacies were affected by a hack for up to a week. People had to go to alternate pharmacies. Some people had to drive 55 miles in one case for a Fugel family member to get their prescription because all of the pharmacies were down. So make sure to go check this out. It is an incredible thing to have on hand, especially if you have something that you don't expect happen. Go to marfugelnews.com/Jace and make sure to use the code MARF. You can learn more at that. And then, of course, you'll be supporting our channel at the same time. We put a lot of work into this. We appreciate those of you who share us out. More than anything, more than supporting affiliates or donating of any kind, make sure to share this with a friend or family, your Facebook groups, your prep groups, whatever it may be. Get us out there. You're the only reason we are out there at all. So thank you. marfugelnews.com/Jace, and make sure to use the code MARF for that savings. Saad Al-Mari, thank you for subscribing. Appreciate it. Welcome to the fam. Sarah, hey, Marf and Dex. I called in and left a message and my take on UFOs and Deagle report. It might be worth a listen. Love you guys and Marfoogle family. Thanks for everything. Sarah, we will listen to that. Thank you for the comment. Inquiring Minds says, I shop local. Marf and Dex, thank you guys. Inquiring Minds, again, I highly recommend if you have farmers markets and things like that, go support the people that are actually down there. I'm telling you, there's so much good stuff. If you live in Seattle, go to the Pike Place Market. There's lots of really great places to shop there. You should be buying local art and stuff from those guys instead of buying cheap crap stuff from Walmart, $50 giant canvases that everybody and their mom has. Go support a local painter or a local glass artist or somebody like that. Every city has those farmers markets. Go support them. I'm telling you, it does a huge boost to the economy. If everybody did their part, we wouldn't need to be worried about it. And then let's see here. Gothic Tinkerbell, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for subscribing. Jammer, I appreciate you. Thank you for not only modding, but you have now hit 18 months as a member. Julie Pilkerton, thank you for 13 months. Appreciate that. Thank you. Zadizia, Ilea, what is going on? Oh, you have a storm. I'm sorry to hear that, Ilea. Ilea, by the way, is one of our awesome mods. Go check out our channel over at marfugelnews.com/friends. Gosh, it seems like you get some of the big storms there. Over the years, Ilea, we've watched you have, that one storm that the tree fell on your neighbor's house right down the middle of it. That's freaking scary. All right, and then T-Man, some people say this is showing he's going to have some big cojones to do this, or he's going to get a lot of respect, or he gets a lot of respect for this, because this is pretty crazy. Dex, do you want to talk about how he has invited Xi Jinping to his Inog?
Yeah, I don't think any other president has ever invited the leader of China to the presidential Inog. So yeah, this is a first. Certainly seen as a potential olive branch. Certainly seen as a no-lose situation, right? If he invites him and he shows up, well, then that's great. If he invites him and he doesn't show up, it still looks great because he invited him. So he went so far as to, say, look, I can work with their adversaries, and I'm inviting him. Now, the big question is, will he come? There's a lot of pundits out there that are saying there's no way he's going to come because the security is too much of an issue. Although I think that may be a little crazy to think, because I think we can handle security at that if we can handle him in San Francisco and roll out the red carpet and parade the streets with Chinese flags. I'm sure we can bring him into D.C. But he's also inviting other foreign leaders like Viktor Orban and potentially others who haven't been announced yet to attend. We'll see who that is, but certainly this one is the big question is, will he actually show up? Will we get an announcement or something from Xi that he is or is not, or will it just pass and we won't know until the day of? But right now it's official because it came out of the the Don's headquarters. They said, yes, we did send him an invitation. He wanted to do it.
It could go a couple different ways, by the way. This could go a good way. It could go a bad way. Thank you, Sarah, again. I just forgot that was on there. So that is awesome. I'm glad all these things are working on Streamlabs now. Of course, now that we can't do it on X, Rumble, and DLive. Again, I've been testing it every day. I don't know what's going on. There's something going on between Restream and Comcast just here locally. If you guys try to do it, you can go to a Restream and test the servers from place to place. If you test anywhere in the country, Dex could stream to Restream from Georgia to the Seattle server faster than I could. And that's absurd to me. So once that gets fixed, I know that sounds complicated, but it's really not. Once that gets fixed, we'll be on multiple platforms again. You made a point, so I want to point out. You said something about the flags that. So when they visited San Francisco, that was a huge example of like what the. Here's how I think it could go. If he invites Xi is going to then in turn is going to go, hey, I want you guys to put up people. I want people on the streets, lining the streets with Chinese flags. I want it to look like I'm visiting China. I mean, honestly, I don't know what they said to do this, but we know that in San Francisco for the APEC thing, not last year, but the year before, they had the streets lined with Chinese flags, and some even say, and I think this in some ways was verified, they brought in people to do this so that he would have a positive experience while driving down the street. They cleaned up an area that people have been complaining about in San Francisco of homeless. They not only cleared out all of the homeless, but they pressure washed everything. They made it spotless for his visit. And that really kind of gave us a mental picture like, why are we doing this for Xi Jinping? They didn't do it for France. They didn't do it for, Germany. They didn't do it for Australia. They didn't do it for any other country, Japan, China, Taiwan. But they did it for China. That to me is just like absolutely nuts. Of course it got a lot of criticism. They're going to clean up areas overnight when people have been asking for years for him to visit. What if he goes, hey, yeah, I'll be at your inaug, but I want it to be like this. I want all the streets to be lined with Chinese flags, and I want it to be, my visit to be glorious and the red carpet rolled out. The Don could say, hell no. If you want to come, you come, and you should be lucky I'm inviting you. It could go like that. Or what if the Don actually goes out of respect and we want to make deals? They do it. I think that a lot of people will be pissed off at the Don if he does do that, because that is what he's been asking multiple countries to do. If you look at when he visited Saudi Arabia, same thing. They rolled out the red carpet. They had people there acting like China was king of the world, and that's how people have been acting. Heck, China has been encroaching on almost everything that the United States has, from all of the stories we've covered, from them even trying to provide underwater sea cables to countries where they're saying to the countries, hey, do you want CIA listening in or do you want us to listen in? Basically, people are choosing China over the U.S. because they don't like our NSA and CIA so much. They're like, yeah, well, maybe we'll go with you. That's what's so insane about this. They are trying to do these peace plans. You see it in every little way. They're trying to, there's fights in Haiti. Well, we want to come up with a peace plan. They are taking notes directly out of the United States book, and then now they're applying it. At the same time, our own government is completely on some other playbook that nobody knows where the hell it came from. Almost like Xi wrote the damn playbook, said, hey, I'm going to give you $4 million per month. I need you to play by this playbook, and I need you to pay this, and this person to play it as well. At the same time as our country is collapsing, his country is like getting this boost, and everybody's going, oh, well, they want to, help peace. At the same time as they are tracking and tracing everybody so much worse than the United States, people there are literally under this, dictatorship, in my opinion. You can't say anything about the damn government. People, when they protested, they had to hold up a blank piece of paper Otherwise, they would get in trouble. Do you want to live in a world like that? Personally, I don't. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. I've had a couple people just recently pop in. They say they are American citizens or dual citizens that live in China. In the chat, just last night we had another one. They say, oh, China's very great. Maybe it is, maybe, but I've also heard that if you're somebody who is dual citizen or you're from America, that they track you, they know where you're at all times, that you might even be getting a different image of China because they know you're there, that they absolutely know that a visitor is there from any country and that they keep tabs on you. That to me, I would be so creeped out living there. What do you guys think, though? Let me know. As far as the Chinese people, I have absolute love and respect and compassion for them. But for the ruling party of a communist party, absolutely no love for that. And, you know, everybody's saying that, gosh, our system is getting turned into something similar. I sure hope that something happens to where it doesn't. Dex, let's go over Mark Zuckerberg. This is another super out of left field, and this kind of goes back to what I said earlier. What if they're setting up Mark so people are trying to trust Facebook again, trust. I think Zuckerberg knows that with all the stuff that came out in the Congress, that it hurt his company, it hurt Facebook, it hurt Meta, it hurt Instagram, it hurt all of these things. And if he is going to put all billions and billions of dollars into VR, which is his pipe dream, people aren't going to want it because you have to have these services. Now he's trying to get that half of the country back by saying, oh yeah, there's something patriotic about all this. When we've talked about their services are basically also helping currently possibly track, trace, and help the bad guys. Dex, do you want to cover what he just did?
Well, look, what he didn't do was he didn't fund anything for the 2017 inaug of the Dawn, nor did he fund anything for Joe's in 2021. But apparently he's given $1 million to the inaug fund for the Dawn this year. And this is coming hot off the heels of his meeting down in Mar-a-Lago. Now, we know lots of different people have gone into, as the, pundits like to call it, kissing the ring of the Dawn, because they don't like him. But he's gone in and had meetings with them and wants to participate more in the path forward. And I think what we've seen is a major shift in Silicon Valley, away from some of the stuff that wasn't necessarily advancing their monetary gains that they wanted, their pockets. Exactly. Right. They hitched their wagon to one side of the spectrum and, hook, line, and sinker ran with it. And it didn't seem to be working, especially in the latter years when the tech sector took a major hit. So I think they're saying, hey, we'll switch teams now. And it's not just him, it's a whole lot of people in the Silicon Valley, a lot of tech sectors, and they're all sort of looking at Elon, who did it, one of the first, one of the biggest. And they're following suit, and they're doing it not because they just ebb and flow with the wind, they're following the money. They're going in what is in their best interest. And by the way, Zuck is not the only one. Bezos is headed down to meet, and if he hasn't already, it was either happening this week or happening in the coming days. He is meeting at Mar-a-Lago. So yet another tech tycoon, as they want to say, kissing the ring of the Dawn.
I mean, like Dex said, there's all these companies that hitch themselves to this, and video games are a great example of this. If you, and most of you probably aren't into video games, but a lot of my generation is. And from my generation down, a lot of even people that are in their 40s, 50s play video games. I have followed this space because it is one of the most interesting changes, and it is part of culture. As far as the video games now, they're not like the video games of the old, they're not like Pong. These things are extremely, extremely advanced. They spend billions of dollars on these games. Sometimes they spend 7 or 10 years working on a single video game. One game that I did play and that I loved was The Last of Us Part 1. And that brings me to the Part 2, right? Part 2, they basically took out the main character because he was, I think, too masculine. and that they brought in this whole other kind of scheme of things. I have no problem with the other schemes that they brought in, but to me, when they forced all of this other stuff into all of these video games that were purposely trying to go so opposite of everything that we consider, usual, it was they were doing it to force it, to try to change things by force. But people don't change by force. People are not going to accept things just because you force them to do it. It's quite the opposite. If you push something down people's throats, they're going to reverse on you. They're going to push back. It's just like if you ever have kids, you could tell them 20 times, don't do this. But if you say, hey, you say, hey, can you not do it like this? And if you do, there might be a reward out of it. It will twist things up and they'll actually do it. But if you say, don't do this ever again, what are they going to do? They're going to go out and do it. With Assassin's Creed, they took a Wikipedia from years ago and basically about this black samurai. Now it's, of course, over the last 6 months, it's come out that the samurai was like basically a retainer, or he wasn't a full samurai. There's a lot of controversy whether he was ever a samurai at all. Essentially, they wanted to make this whole story in this huge, big budget, billion-dollar game about this guy and a woman character. And it turns out that the Wikipedia was originally edited and rewrote by a guy, the same guy that wrote a book based on the Wikipedia that he wrote. So imagine writing a Wikipedia, making up a bunch of stuff, and then writing and authoring a book about this amazing story of the first, samurai. And then people find out, wait, you're the one who actually edited and created the Wikipedia, which everybody is using as an actual source. There is no, there's no better source other than their own thing. So it was a huge controversy, but on top of that, in all of these video games, they are placing all of these other themes. Even in the kids' games, they have some of the most insane games you'll ever think of. They have games that are all about emotions, and they literally have options like press X for a microaggression. I'm not even kidding you. No joke, they are making games like that. Like press XXX for microaggressions, and it's like a story game. It's just getting absolutely insane. Now the companies, they are losing so much money. They've pushed back Assassin's Creed several times. They basically refunded people's money. They said, no, we're going to change it. They didn't release it because they knew when they released it, it was going to crash hard. All these games, even racing games, are putting posters up along the tracks, like pushing different views. And these are all political views. They're culture views. They're all this getting pushed into people. People don't want to be pushed. Most people are very accepting. But when people try to push something down your throat, you're going to go the opposite way. That's just my viewpoint, my opinion. And again, I'm somebody who has always been really accepting of a lot of different kinds of people. I'm from Seattle. There's no way you can grow up here and not be around all sorts of types of people. And I just don't see how people are going to get pushed into the I support this by force. Dex, go ahead.
I was just looking up the latest on Bezos. So yeah, he is also, get this, he is pledged to give $1 million donation to the NUKES fund as well. So you've not only got Zuckerberg, you do have Bezos, and he's doing this in advance of his visit to Mar-a-Lago.
That's
and
so
he
stupid.
also made a commitment to stream the NUKES on Amazon Prime, which is also another donation in a value of another $1 million. So basically $2 million in value, one in cash, one in streaming.
And don't forget to add that Zuckerberg donated $450 million to get JB put into office, and then turns around and gives $1 million to the Don's NUKES fund. $450 million. It's crazy because they have put a positive light on him. Remember the interview after the attempt on the Dawn? He sat there, and actually it is a likable interview. There's not too many of Zuckerberg that is. And lately, you see him on Instagram. He's surfing on a surfboard holding the American flag. Then he's doing something in one post. He's going to a class where he's making a samurai sword. It's like all these things that like traditional you'd look at and go, oh, that's like an alpha male thing. It's like he's going, what would an alpha male do? And then he's doing it. What, like a meme of an alpha male. And he's like, oh, I'll do that. Oh, maybe I should make a samurai sword while sitting on a surfboard, while lifting weights and holding an American flag with an eagle on my shoulder. I would not be surprised if this happens. But again, lately he's been doing this. He said the attempt, he goes, when he stood up and said, fight, 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 he said, yeah, there's something about it that it's really hard not to go, wow, that was freaking awesome, you know? And I've seen a lot of people in our community actually warm up to Zuckerberg. But don't forget that Facebook and all of these things, they ended the day after another thing, or they started the day after another thing. It was a certain log that ended, and that was straight up an op. So, I mean, like, everybody knows from the congressional meetings that this thing was tracking and tracing and following you all throughout everything. It still is. If you have it on your phone or on your devices, it is, from what even they admit in some of this, it's tracking your other stuff. It's tracking other apps. Dex, am I wrong about that, by the way? I mean, these apps actually track what you're doing on your phone, not just in the app. They're tracking outside of the app.
Well, it depends on your phone, but yes, they can.
Certainly. He's an Apple guy.
Well, I mean, you can turn that feature on or off. It's a selection, and it asks if you want it to track while you're outside the app.
Do you think most people turn it off?
I do, and it asks you, and I think it's off by default if you don't answer.
Wait, has it always
on
asked,
Apple?
Has it always asked you, or has it asked you after the congressional meetings? Have you noticed that a lot of these things they now say, do you want to be tracked or traced? Has that always been the case, or for the last 10 years have they just tracked or traced everything, and it was in the initial?
Oh, they tracked or traced anything they possibly can. It's marketing. Yeah. It's all about the dollars, and if anything they can do to advertise or increase their advertising and sales of products, they will do. If they can learn more about you so they can make sure to sell you or put the right product in front of you at the right time so they can make a buck, they're going to do it. That is the holy grail. End of story. But, you know, companies like Apple came out and said, well, you know what, we're not Google and we're not Facebook and we're not getting their money, so we're going to stick it to them. And we, you know, they're the ones that shifted the whole cookie tracking thing on websites, which Google just absolutely hated when it happened, and now it has become the norm. But I'm not trying to you know, wave the Apple flag, so to speak, but there are things that have happened that have changed and shifted that privacy initiative to where, yes, they still track, they can track, and there are certain ways that they can't, and they don't like, and some of that stuff's sort of gone by the wayside because they can't do it anymore. But here's the question I have for you, Adam. What if Zuck is realizing the writing may be on the wall that the interconnect of our government and everything that they were getting from Facebook may be going away come the end of January? What if there is, you know, going to really be a significant change in the government and what they're doing? I don't believe it, but maybe that's why he's hedging his bets.
Well, that's what it looks like. And by the way, I have nothing. You over the years, if I had the ability to convert everything from Android to Apple at this point, because in the Apple ecosystem, I think it's better, at least the lesser of two evils right now, as far as from what I know from you, it is better as far as the tracking, tracing, and the stuff. They did a lot of the things first, right? At least they pretended to fight to unlock their phones, you know, for the FBI and all of this stuff that happened over the years. But as far as Android are basically like a walking PC. They're super hackable, everything else. But Apple usually had a better experience. The Apple computer I did have, I've had two actually, they never had issues. Every PC I've owned, and if you guys agree with this, you buy a PC, and after about a year or year and a half, even if you do nothing but Word, Excel, I've had two computers where nothing, didn't even do web surfing on the damn thing. It would get viruses, or it would just slow down, or it would cramp or freeze. And honestly, it's horrible. The Apple I had never had issues. But it's this turn with Zuckerberg and this whole donating thing. It's like, yeah, he's given $1 million now, $450 million a couple years ago. I'm sure everybody notices that. Bezos owns Washington Post. Do they think that everything's about to change, or are they are they pandering, or is it part of something bigger? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And then China's hypersonic jet flies at a blazing 6.5 times the speed of sound in tests. Now, I would love to say we have looked for the releases by the United States. Maybe the releases by the United States aren't happening because they're just not telling us. Everybody has, in this community, assumed that we are 30 years ahead and they have alien technology and floating boots and whatever else. And I have always assumed this as well. But I've started to worry, like, why aren't we releasing some of this tech? Because China, on a regular basis, is releasing this tech that specifically looks like it is going after the U.S.'s superiority. We have had the tech where they say that China has a new invisibility cloak for all of their aircraft that can essentially get by both of our main radar systems, virtually making their craft invisible, which has come into play with this whole Jersey drone thing that's going on. People have worried, did China either put these drones out through a drone mothership, which is not a carrier, not a ship at all, but a plane like drone, or did they give that technology to Iran, and those are Iranian drones coming from an Iranian mothership, a plane, not a ship, and things like that. And then of course they came out with technology that we've covered in the last 3 months that says that it can spot each one of our submarines underneath the ocean with microwave technology. They say that they can transfer power across the planet, just much like the U.S. said that they could, using this similar very technology, direct energy type technologies type of stuff, and microwaves. They also have a tech that they say, I'm missing one, that can knock out our early warning systems on all of our Navy. They said up to around 30 of them could essentially knock down everybody's early warning radar systems. At the same time as building nuclear silos like nobody's tomorrow, they're trying to become the largest air force on top of being the largest Navy. And they, of course, are hoarding, supplies all over the world. And why are these stories coming out almost every week of a huge, huge advancement? And I hate to say it, why is it that we see this more than we see our own releases? China, hypersonic jet flies at a blazing 6.5 times the speed of sound in tests. So, Dex, you know what I'm talking about. We have covered a lot of these, and somebody could almost go like, oh, why are you trying to make them sound awesome? We don't know if any of these are true. We don't know if this is accurate, if all of these claims are true. But what's scary is the fact that they might be. This is another advancement that's coming out of China, the same country that supposedly is months, if not years ahead in autonomous AI or autonomous drones and AI technology. That's an admission from our own Pentagon. Think about what that AI could do if they end up getting a sentient AI that could start inventing things. I mean, that's creepy. Dex, what do you think about this?
Yeah, so this is, on the surface, it's not necessarily military, but it really is, because anything they build is military. This is a jumbo jet. This is a jet that can shuttle large numbers of passengers, which could be large number of military, right? Or large number of large amount of cargo, and it's being able to reach 6.5. To put that in perspective, guys, an F-22 has a top speed of Mach 2.25. Okay, so it's only going. This is basically, this one's reaching over Mach 5. This Chinese plane. So an F-16 can hit Mach 2, an F-18 hits Mach 1.8, and F-35 will hit Mach 1.6. Okay, this thing's hitting Mach 5. It's expected, they're saying it's expected to be able to shuttle passengers from Beijing to New York in 2 hours. That's a 2-hour flight. I mean, you spend more time waiting in line at the airport and waiting for your baggage and getting into a cab than you will in the actual flight time between New York and Beijing. if this, comes to fruition. I think the interesting thing is the advanced technology that is coming out of China and how they're able to rapidly produce this stuff. Now, certainly, all of the talk is it's consumer and cargo, but it's going to be military too. Everything they build. They were just talking about that impressive. We reported on it last week. The impressive vertical takeoff drone that can carry passengers and cargo. And then all of a sudden, when it came out, it's like, oh, it has a military emblem on it now. Oh, so it's really a military vehicle. It wasn't a commercial vehicle. But that's China for you.
And I'll show you that drone just for reference. This is the new Osprey type drone. I'm trying to see if this is the Chinese version. I believe this is. And you're talking, this is a drone. These things getting scarier and scarier by the minute. Think about this. Did they say anywhere? I could not find how many people could fit in this or hypothetically fit in these new hypersonic 6.5 times the speed of sound, jets. This is a passenger jet that can go faster than that's faster than the Concorde. I mean, isn't that much more faster than the Concorde?
I mean, the Concorde is probably Mach 1. It was just breaking the sound barrier. That would be Mach 1. So it may have been like Mach 1.2 or 1.1, but it wasn't much. It was just enough to get there. But still faster than all other jets, but commercial jets. But yeah, and by the way, the U.S. is building these too, but I've not heard that they're going to reach Mach 5. Mach 5 is super fast. And for this to be what they're labeling as a jumbo jet, every jumbo jet I know holds, 250 to 300 more passengers on it. So I don't know what the numbers, like you said, I haven't seen the numbers. I can't find them. It's not in this article for certainty, but nonetheless, super fast.
Think about if they lock down an airport, or if they clear out a space, or they buy land next to all of our bases, somehow line things up to where they take those bases over, those airfields over. They could load up a bunch of these, fly every 2 hours, and they could do multiple of them. Think about how many troops they could move into a country across the planet in almost no time. In a 24-hour period, you could have 10,000, 20,000 troops in a different country, and just do it like that. They could respond to almost anything. Our big thing, and this is something the U.S. has come out with releases on, is we're trying to get cargo and different things to anywhere in the world within 30 minutes. Straight up like a Domino's saying, like if it's not there in 30 minutes, it's not the U.S. military, right? But this is something that we don't like to cover coming out of China, especially with their goals. Everybody knows they are trying to take number one spot in their doctrines, in their heavenly mandate, which is something that they spiritually look to. They believe that Xi Jinping should be the leader of the world. If he's not the leader of the world, then that looks bad on him. If he's not number one. Dex, go ahead.
Just a quick correction. My assumption on the Concorde was off. It's Mach 2.0.
I thought it was 4 times.
Yeah, it's two times. So 2.04. It does 1,354 miles an hour, or 2179 kilometers an hour. That's the maximum cruising speed of the Concorde.
I kind of I have a model of the Concorde, and it's one of my favorite models of all time. Yeah, the Concorde is cool.
It's doing Mach 2. This thing's doing Mach 5. So actually, they said it can go up to Mach 6.5. Is what they're expecting with the body.
Yeah,
it's insane.
Concorde. What was it? What was that car that blew up when you hit it in the trunk? What was the? Is
that the Fiero?
Fiero?
No, it was the
It had a name that it's on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Oh my gosh, you guys, tell us what the car is that when you
the Pinto.
Pinto. Yeah, no. Is it the Pinto? Yeah.
Yeah, the Pinto.
Where if somebody accidentally rear-ended you, you would just blow up. I feel like it even had another name. But yeah, the Pinto, right? It's like the Pinto of the plane world. It had so many accidents, they stopped flying it. Now, I don't know how bad it actually was, but pretty bad. The nose, the Concorde was super cool in itself. The nose was so long, they did it for aerodynamics, they had this giant nose, that when they were landing and taking off, the nose would actually, I think it was hydraulics, would lower. So you see the actual nose would lower, I think it was like 15 degrees or 20 degrees or something like that, but it would lower and have a completely different look, which is crazy thinking about how in the end it crashed so much. I wonder if it's because of that nose. You would think if you're going Mach 2, if anything moves on that thing, I don't know how they kept it straight when it was in the flying position. But yeah, crazy plane. Inquiring Minds, Black Clover Digital. By the way, thanks for @Jace, just ordered literally. Hey, thank you, Black Clover Digital. Thank you for supporting us. And then Sweatin' Ministries, thank you for all being here. Sarah, thank you again. And it most likely will be Monday. Inquiring Minds, thanks again, guys. You rock. Inquiring Minds, thank you, and thank you. Appreciate everybody that has supported this week. And then flurry of earthquakes. I saw some of you chatting about this in the chat earlier. I think it was Bobby Sue said, I didn't even know about these. This is really concerning for those that don't experience a lot of earthquakes. Dex, you're in the East Coast. This one really is quite odd.
Well, yeah, it's the New Madrid fault, or I assume I'm pronouncing that correctly. But I think there's a debate on it. But anyway, this is in like the Missouri, Arkansas, Tennessee, Kentucky area. Even goes all the way up to Illinois, as that fault line does. It is actually one that has very large quakes over time, and they think it's due. Now, there's been a swarm of small quakes that have been hitting there, and a lot of people are fearing, is this, time for the is this a precursor to the long overdue mega quake that could come from this region? So I think that's the concern. Scientists have warned that the fault line, can generate a magnitude 7 or higher in the next 50 years. So that's something that most people in this area don't experience. And a 7.0 in that area would be pretty strong. And especially, I think, when you're in some of the more mountainous regions where the ground is very rocky and solid, you feel the earthquake much more than you do, say, on other land, which is much softer. Like a 5.0 where you are, Adam, may feel totally different than a 5.0 in a mountainous region where there's a lot of hard rock. Everybody's just going to feel it a lot differently. Maybe you can explain how that works better than I can.
There's no give. I mean, think about if you're on an earthquake on a trampoline, you're going to feel it a whole lot less than if you're on an earthquake on a straight up rock. If something is gyrating a rock, you're not going to have any give underneath you. It's just going to bash into you. I mean, it really is like a whole different story. Seattle is in itself on really soft land, to the point where they are afraid of liquefaction happening in all of downtown, where we're just going to crumble under. But yeah, so earthquakes over there are going to feel way worse. I believe. I mean, think about if you have a solid object, and you push up and something's standing on top of it, it's like going like this. Rather than something like in Japan where they have their buildings on kind of hydraulics, you have it shaking, it's going to be a lot less. But if you have something under a solid rock, I mean, if you have a cap here, it's just going to pop right off. I mean, that's a horrible situation if the New Madrid pops. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, Stephen McMahon said in chat that the quake in the New Madrid in 1815 made church bells ring in Boston. So keep that in mind. And you got to also think, if you're not familiar with the region, but like the whole Appalachian Mountain range runs all the way up towards New England. So you've got that nice solid bedrock that runs up through there. So yeah, a lot of people would feel a 7.0 in the middle of this area, this zone between Tennessee and Arkansas and Missouri and others.
Yeah, that would be a truly nightmarish scenario. And this is if there's any kind of weird signs, we will be following it. I will always follow all of this kind of stuff. So make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. If you're at all worried about earthquakes, make sure to subscribe. Also, if you really want to follow every last moment, there's of course channels like Dutch Sense that covers every every kind of event that's happening or the bigger events, and has his own kind of predictions of what goes on, right? So you can go over there and check him out, but there's lots of great channels that cover this stuff. Make sure to go follow it if you are in an area that's at high risk, because I would most definitely recommend, especially the West Coast as well. You have Cascadia Subduction Zone and the San Andreas Fault. In the East Coast, right over there, you of course have the New Madrid. And like we just talked about last week, earthquakes are something that no one ever thinks about. And then they happen. Most of you probably haven't experienced one, but when you've experienced one, it's just so random. There's no prediction whatsoever. All of a sudden, you're just shaking. That's why it's so scary. Think about it's like the jump scare of natural disasters. It's like watching a video where you're like, oh, is there a spider? Blah! It's like that of natural disasters. And then before we move on, make sure to go check out EMP Shield. We recommend that if you want to get through not only an electromagnetic pulse attack from an adversary, whether it be Iran, North Korea, China, Russia, who knows what other countries are in this realm of things, if any one of them tries to hit us with an EMP, which they could knock down our entire grid, you can protect your own vehicles, your own generators, your own boats, your own motorcycles, your own ham radios, your own homes against it with an EMP shield. It's easily wired in. There's 3 wires into your car, red to red on your battery, black to black on your battery, and green to ground or part of your chassis. And then this will ground the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second before frying your car. So if you want to get home to your family, then this is the way to go. If you want to get out to bug out, this is the way to go. If you work far from work or work far from home, then it's definitely a must. As far as having this will also protect you against a natural event, including a Carrington level event. A Carrington level event happens. They're worried about essentially the whole northern hemisphere going down. You want your own stuff to run. Even if the grid never comes back on, if your generators are covered, that way then you can power your protected home. And then, of course, you can power your other devices as well. So go to marfooglenews.com/EMP and make sure to use the code MARF. Not only are you going to save $50 off, you're going to help independent news. We are up against behemoths and monsters of the MSM. We are hidden. So thank you guys for more so sharing us out, and share us with a friend or family member that may not have one. If you already have an EMP shield protecting your stuff, then again, recommend it to your friends and family. Give them our code so it can help us out. We are on an uphill battle since we started. So thank you guys for helping us out there. Otherwise, though, share. We do appreciate it. We see it. We thank you guys. Sweatinum Ministries again says thanks for all you being here. And then fire crews. So this is really weird. We just covered this over on Marfoogle News. Fire crews were ordered to wear hazmat suits before approaching mystery drones after hundreds were spotted over the U.S. skies. We just talked about how, over the entire country, people are starting to say they're seeing these. I don't know if that's the fact and all of these people are just seeing a plane. But the fact that they're ordering them to wear hazmats might be out of an abundance of caution. But out of the different people involved here, I almost think that there's some sort of setup for some sort of event, some sort of Fantastic Freddy event to happen here. Think about a drone that's painted like, painted and it's got Iranian serial numbers on it or something. All of a sudden it crashes and it has a beaker of something on it and that releases, and the first people that respond all of a sudden spread something. That kind of event is the worst case scenario. Hopefully that never happens, but if you look at how they're responding to it, it's almost like they're seeing that up as a possibility. Dex, go ahead.
One of the things that's being rumored, or at least reported, I should say, by people that are seeing it, so that's their claims, alleged, there's dispersals coming from some of these drones that they're seeing in the sky. So that just makes you wonder if that's true, what would be that? And maybe that is the concern, that if one of them comes down and it's full of an agent that's currently being dispersed, then that would be the need for a hazmat suit, right? But then that also just makes you want to know what in the heck is going on with the drones, if that's the case. Now, there's no confirmation on that. Those are just alleged, not speculation, but alleged sightings from people saying they're seeing that type of activity. Now, it could be other things too.
Yeah, and as far as if this is this is something that I talked about months ago, and a lot of Fugel family members, when this first started being, I don't know if it was months ago. When did this all start? Was this early December?
It started in November, and it was
right.
like the second week or first week in November, and that's why the speculation was about the Iranian ship, because that ship left port in the beginning of November. It would have been like 12 days for it to get near us. According to the tracking that they have on it. But anyway, the only day it did not happen was Thanksgiving. So every day in November, it has been going on in New Jersey, except until through today, except for Thanksgiving.
And again, the fact that they took a federal holiday off. I mean, think about that. Think about that. One of the few holidays that all federal employees take off. I mean, come on now.
Don't federal employees take like all days off?
Pretty much. So we got to see if it's like on what is it? Do they take Boxing Day? What's the next holiday? Is there? Oh well, there's Christmas. Watch, they won't be there on Christmas Day. But that's the other thing.
No, that'll be Santa.
Yeah. True. So we'll see what happens with this, but. Fugel family member Dan was a Dan F. that way early on. It felt like months ago. I can't believe this started in November. That's so nuts. But in November, at least November, it was at the very beginning of this when we started hearing about this. Because at first people were like, "Oh, this is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs." Dan, I think Dan F. and I'm sorry if Dan F. or Dan B. First thing he said was this could carry biomaterials. This is something that they're working on in the U.S. government. And, as far as having a beaker or having something slowly release, that is what this person was worried about. I hope that would never, ever happen. But look at where the world is going right now with technology and drone technology. Make sure to watch our video that goes more in depth on this over at Marfoogle News. You'll be able to find that there. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Krista McClemens. Thank you, Tammy Sawaka. Thank you for being a member. Ray the Way, Nicole Angel, and Havas Mom, and Kronosh. Dex, go ahead.
Hey, I think it's a good public service reminder to remind people that there are rules against taking those things down in the sky. If you see one over your home, you're not allowed to do that. Like, you can get in serious federal trouble. I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, I've got my shotgun and I'll, if I see a drone in, my backyard." Don't do that. And I suspect we might start to hear that kind of thing happen if this continues, and that will be
surprised we haven't already.
Yeah, I'm shocked we haven't. And for as many people that are seeing what they're claiming are drones that obviously are clearly turn out to be planes, I would be very fearful if somebody, does something stupid like, fire at a plane at a low altitude, which you would hope they could distinguish it's a plane at that point. But yeah, there's going to be something that comes from this that's going to be pretty bad.
I've also seen idiots shining not only floodlights at planes, clearly planes. I've also seen a flurry of videos of people shining laser pointers at the front of the planes. That's also illegal. You can't do that. That laser up there is 50 feet wide, and it can blind pilots. I don't know if they're 30,000 feet up, how it affects them, but family friend who was a pilot has shared plenty of experiences when laser pointers were really big Everybody and their mom was shining them at planes. Some of them in Seattle, there's hills that are actually above, not SeaTac, but the Boeing field. He said when he was taking off, it was almost a nightly occurrence that somebody from one of the hills would try to shine their laser pointers at the planes as they were taking off. What they see, just as if you shine a laser pointer 200 feet away, it's not a tiny dot anymore. It's like 4 feet wide. When you're shining it miles away, it's like a huge green or red light right in their eyes. So yeah, don't do that. Not just because it's illegal, but just because it's kind of a move.
Yeah. And Adam, one other thing I'll say, I've seen a lot of the videos that people think, like there's one out there now that everybody's like, oh, it's a shape-shifting drone that turns into an airplane. Well, keep in mind, for those of you that aren't aware, if you don't live, like I live in a path of an airport, so I get this all the time. These low-flying planes, if they're heading directly at you and they're on approach, or even on takeoff, but mostly on approach, they're heading straight at you. They have these giant white lights on the front of the plane. Well, if it's heading straight towards you and it's maintaining a slow descent and a slow speed, but it's heading straight for you, you're not going to see it move left, right, or anything. And you're just going to see this bright white light, and it's going to look like it's floating in the sky. And you're going to be like, oh, wow, that's an orb. It's floating in the sky. And then later it will look like an airplane. And so I just want to remind people, if you don't pay attention to things in the air and you all of a sudden start to look and now you think you're seeing that, just be careful understanding what planes look like in the night sky, especially on approach to airports.
Now, I just found, I don't know if this is the same one, Ilea, but now they're saying this person is claiming, so obviously it's a viral video. This person is claiming, it says the video of Patriots shooting at the drones is fake. The original video was recorded December 4th, and there are no bang bangs. I don't post here for clicks, so this might fall on deaf ears. I don't know if this is the original video, but this was Sean Farash. I don't know who that is. But yeah, it looks like the same one. So I don't know. I'll have to watch that. I'm guessing this is the one with the bang bangs at it, right? I would not be surprised if this is not only really happening, if a bunch of people are going to start doing this, if they continue to hype up how bad these are or how scary they are. I bet somebody's going to go, well, there's this guy on the news saying we need to take them down now. Heck, I'm going to do my service for the country, and I'm going to take the thing down. Especially if they see one low enough. Watch, they end up getting the police department's DJI or something. Dex, go ahead.
Oh, even the Don came out today and said, sort of ridiculed the government, saying, I can't believe this is happening, and they should, shoot them down, was his exact quote. So, yeah, there's a lot of rhetoric around taking these things down when they're seen. So be careful with it, guys.
And now, if you take it down, they're gonna go, the Don told them to take it down. Well, follow us. Make sure to subscribe. Thank you to new subscribers. Thank you, Ilea. Thank you for the support. Thank you for also modding. Thank you for being here for the show. Thank you to Rip Curl. I don't know if you're here tonight, but I've seen you here so many times this last 3 or 4 months. So thank you so much for being here. Syed Alamari, thank you for subscribing. Thank you, Gothic Tinkerbell. Thank you. I appreciate that for subscribing. Lisa BC and Ray Barnier, Joe Brunner, and Coletta Bakken. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you, and thank you. All right, Dex, thank you so much for your service tonight. I appreciate you.
Much love. Great job, brother.
It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. Make sure if you want to watch that video, click up in the corner, up in the right-hand corner to see that Marfoogle news video.